Oh, oh, Christmas from Brandon's World, and welcome to a very special Christmas edition of the show. Christmas Eve, I should say. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are fresh off a week 16 in the 2024 NFL season. We are fresh off the first round of the college football playoff, the first ever home games in the college football playoff era. Now, as I announced yesterday on social media on my X page at real_B-roll, this is a good time to plug that we are in collaboration with the one, the only Voltage Live, and my social media links are in the description below. I have made the decision that due to the holiday, due to so many NFL games on this week, of course, we have games on Wednesday, we have a game on Thursday, we have three games on Saturday, we have what, nine games on Sunday, and then we have a Monday night game. That because of all the different games and things like that, with obviously this being a weird week with a holiday, I didn't want to give you guys sort of two holidays back to back. I think it'd be sort of weird if we did week 17 in the NFL, but Christmas games had already come and passed. It's not like Thanksgiving where that Thursday and Friday sort of give us an extra little buffer before the weekend. This is a little bit of a different week because there's games on so many different days that what I'm going to be doing today is I'm going to be doing, like normal, a little bit of an abridged week 16 NFL recap. Then I will quickly go through just my week 17 money line picks and best bets. Again, a really abridged version. And then there will be no podcast this Thursday, December 26th. On December 31st, we will come back New Year's Eve. I will have a show. At that time, we will preview the second round matchup in the college football playoff as well as recap the entire slate of Christmas games, the day after Christmas, etc. Week 17 of the 2024 NFL season, and my best bets. So, my Merry Christmas gift to you. We will not have a show on Thursday this week. This will be our only show this week. Again, here at Christmas Eve. I'm recording this today, the morning of. Gonna get this up as fast as possible. I hope you enjoyed the Brandon's World Merry Christmas special. Now, in this clip, if you're listening on YouTube, obviously on audio, it's all going to be in one clip, but here in this clip, I'm going to be doing my Week 16 NFL recap, my Week 17 money line picks, and best bets. Let's start off with how I did in the money line, which I went 11 and 5. That puts me at 163 and 77 on the year in the money line. If you're curious, last year for week 16 in the money line, I was three games better this year. As last year I was 160 and 80. So we have improved on that this year in the money line. Best bets is almost the opposite. Last year, I was red hot betting. I went 52 for 79 with one push through 16 weeks. This year, I am 48 of 80. That puts us at 60% after another 4 for 5 week, clutching it up. I did hit the Chargers -3 Thursday night against Denver. I did hit Cincinnati -7 against Cleveland. I hit Indy -4.5 against Tennessee. That looked like it was going to easily hit, and then it got scary there a little bit at the end. And I did hit the Rams -3 at the Jets. My one miss was taking Pittsburgh plus the points. I should have known without George Pickens. I didn't want to give Mike Tomlin that many points. I should have known Baltimore was angry. I should have took the Ravens side of it there. I would have had a perfect week. Shame on me there. Um, Obviously the Thursday night game, the story of it was the free kick, the end of the first half. That was something I didn't even know that existed, to be honest with you. That's why I'm a Madden coach and not an NFL head coach. That clearly turned the momentum around. Justin Herbert made some big plays, including some incredible throws with his arm. That one where he moved to the left and threw that dot to the end zone really flipped the game around. Chargers won 34-27. Again, I like Denver's story. They obviously has a huge game at Cincinnati this coming Saturday. I love what Bo Nix and Sean Payton have done this year, but I was not betting against Jim Harbaugh, Justin Herbert when they had lost two in a row. And now, in my opinion, they'll beat New England on Saturday and all but clinch an AFC wild card spot. Chiefs at Texans. Obviously, the story of this game was Tank Dell. The brutal injury there. Chiefs win it 27-19. Houston's injury luck just continues. Unfortunately for them. Fortunately, though, they are in the worst division in the NFL, and by that I'm talking about the AFC South. They're going to be the number four seed in the AFC, likely to play either the Chargers or the Ravens, who would be their matchup right now. Obviously, that was his divisional round game last year. I would take Baltimore or the Chargers in either scenario. CJ Stroud hasn't had a great year. The past month, really, Joe Mixon has really struggled to get going. As I've said before, I really feel like he's the catalyst to their offense, and they have now lost Stephon Diggs. They have lost Tank Dell. This is a Joe Mixon, Nico Collins or bust offense. Their defense is not taking the football away the way they did last year. I feel like they can beat up on bad teams. They're not there yet to compete with the great teams. They're one free agency and or one draft class away. Kansas City, again, with Mahomes, without Mahomes, I thought they were going to play well. You guys know I seriously considered taking Kansas City up, minus 2.5 at the time of the recording last week. I didn't know for sure if Mahomes is going to play or not, which is why I stayed away from it. But bottom line here, Chiefs beat Pittsburgh on Wednesday. They're the number one seed on Christmas in the AFC. And then, like I said, Pittsburgh without George Pickens, they're a little bit of a pop gun offense. Steelers were in this thing for a little bit, especially in the third quarter. The pick six, Russell Wilson threw to Marlon Humphrey, pretty much ended all hope there for the Steelers. And, this is what we talked about with Pittsburgh, why it was so critical. They got off to, what did they get off to? Like a 8-2, 9-2 start? Because at this point now, they're 10-5. And the Kansas City, if they lose, they'll be 10-6. And all of a sudden, when they had a two-game lead, which was really a three-game lead because they beat the Ravens head-to-head, all of a sudden Baltimore could be in the driver's seat to win that division. And then Pittsburgh could be looking at either potentially going to Houston, which would be an interesting matchup, or they'd go right back to Baltimore, where I think they would play well. I think that's one of the NFL games where home field matters more. If it was in Pittsburgh, I'd probably take the Steelers to win. Because it's in Baltimore, I'll probably take the Ravens to win if that was the playoff matchup. Speaking of playoff matchups, now we get a preview, in my opinion, of what will be the 7-2 matchup in the NFC for all likelihood. That being the Eagles and Commanders. My Eagles defense forced five turnovers, yet Jalen Hurts obviously goes out of the game 11 snaps into the game. Jaden Daniels was sensational, throwing five touchdown passes, including the game-winning touchdown pass to Jamison Crowder. This was a wild back-and-forth game. Philadelphia was up 21-7 early. They were forcing turnovers. They could not stop Saquon Barkley. And Kenny Pickett, who also suffered a rib injury in this game, could not prove that he could throw the football down the field. And without Jalen Hurts, the Commanders really did stack that box. They limited Saquon Barkley and his rushing attempts, and a big win there for the Commanders, as they now almost do solidify their spot in the playoffs. Well, Philadelphia needs a lot of help from the San Francisco 49ers and the Green Bay Packers to stay alive for the number one seed. You guys know, as an Eagles fan, probably my thoughts on this game, which is if we had Jalen Hurts, this would be a different game. Eagles Commanders round three in Philly. I would give the edge to Philly as much as I wanted the number one seed and the bye week because my team hadn't had a bye week since week five. You know, we were due for a loss. We were the hottest team in football. And I think if Jalen Hurts comes back here, they're going to beat the Cowboys. In all likelihood, Detroit will probably beat San Francisco. And then we will rest against the Giants and hope that they don't get the number one pick in the NFL draft. Listen, I picked the Bengals to cover, as I already mentioned, 24-6 against the Browns. Dorian Thompson-Robinson's not an NFL quarterback. Honestly, who cares? Jonathan Taylor had a huge game for Indianapolis. They were up 38-7, and then Mason Rudolph happened, and all of a sudden it was 38-30, and my bet was sweating a little bit. But in the end, Colts, who are not really a playoff team, Anthony Richardson completed 7 passes. They can beat the bad teams. They can't beat the good teams. It is what it is. Colts win 38-30. Jets become one of the only NFL teams in NFL history to never punt the ball and score single digits in a football game. Matthew Stafford did not look great. He only threw for about 110 yards. Rams winning 19-9. Listen, this was a warm weather team in LA going outdoors to MetLife Stadium to take on the Jets. This was a grinded out defensive ball game. Jeff Ulbrich was going for it on every fourth down. A very slow, methodical game. Bottom line is Rams got the win, and with Minnesota knocking off Seattle, as I predicted the Rams to cover the 3 points, now they're in position to potentially win the NFC West next week. Michael Penix looked decent. He made some good throws in his debut here. I'm not going to take much from it because, quite honestly, the New York Giants have quit. And now that the Las Vegas Raiders beat the Jacksonville Jaguars by a score of 19-14, the New York Giants are in sole possession of the first pick in the 2025 NFL Draft. And if all reporting is true, Shedeur Sanders will not be that pick because he does not want to go to MetLife. Ironically, the team who 20 years ago stole Eli Manning, because Eli Manning did not want to go to the Chargers. Instead, Phil Rivers obviously went to the Chargers. Could we have a situation here where Shedeur Sanders does not want to go to the Giants, who I think they need to clean house? I'm a defender of Brian Dable. We've seen his work with Josh Allen. We saw him get Daniel Jones to the playoffs. But quite frankly, this team just needs a culture reset. The Saquon Barkley decision was obviously huge ramifications on this franchise who has not recovered yet. They are so down in the dumps, but we've said this about the Commanders and Texans over the last 2 years, and those franchises have found a quarterback, they have found a coach, and they have turned it around. Speaking of finding a coach, I think Dave Canales and the Carolina Panthers have found their coach of the future because Dave Canales, in half a season, ever since Bryce Young got benched and then got put in, I mean, Bryce Young outplayed Kyler Murray, in my opinion, on Sunday. The Panthers helped eliminate the Cardinals from playoff contention 36-30 in overtime. Again, these Panthers and these Cardinals now kind of feel like the same team, where Arizona had one good week, one bad week. They were really inconsistent here during the last month of the season. They could not beat their arch rival Seahawks in a game. That really ruined their NFC West chances. A little bit of a disappointing season and ending for the Cardinals, as the way their season started, they were definitely the favorite out west in the NFC, but their wins were kind of fluky. They beat up on bad teams. San Francisco even looks like a bad team now. For Carolina, outside of the game against Dallas, which Dallas, as we see on Sunday Night Football, was playing their arses off, and you know they're going to give my Philadelphia Eagles everything they can handle on Sunday in that arch rival NFC East battle. Commanders over the last month, or excuse me, Panthers over the last month have been playing really good football. Ben Johnson showing off with all the guys falling down. Ever since Matt Eberflus got fired, a lot like the Jets with Robert Saleh, the Bears looked like they quit. Caleb Williams doing a great job. I don't believe he's thrown an interception since Halloween. But this defense has not looked the same since Eberflus left the building. Ben Johnson may be showing off again for the Bears brass. Lions dominate. The big story here was that was one of Jared Goff's best games in the cold, all, career long mostly. Jameson Williams, obviously, big touchdown. Jahmyr Gibbs gets in the end zone. Sam Laporta gets in the end zone. Lions roll 34-17. And now in an NFC West rematch, if they go into San Francisco and beat a shell of a Niners team as to what they were last year, and Minnesota loses to Green Bay, they will be the number one seed in the NFC. Speaking of Minnesota, Sam Darnold made an incredible throw in cover two to Justin Jefferson to give them the win 27-24 against a Seahawks team who desperately needed that game because of the Rams' win against the Jets. Now all of a sudden, Seattle, not only do they have to beat the Bears and they have to beat the Rams, but they have to hope the Rams do fall to the Cardinals on Saturday night for Seattle to have a chance at the NFC West, which will be their only way into the postseason. They cannot get into the postseason now via a wild card spot. Kind of what I predicted Seattle to be this year, and then they beat Arizona twice, and I tried to give them credit for maybe being better than what I thought they were. Again, I know, 4 or 5 Seahawks fans in my life. I think Seahawks fans feel like their quarterback is better than he actually is. Jackson Smith and Jigba has really come on this year. I feel like for a defensive coach, Mike McDonald has been inconsistent. Um, but I like their weapons. I really think they need a quarterback upgrade, and this team plays hard. They fight hard. At the end of the day, the Vikings have an offensive coach, Kevin O'Connell. Those weapons, Darnold, even in the rain, playing one of his best games of the year. But now this is a big test, right? Now they go for the sweep against Green Bay, who they defeated in week 4. Remember, I like the Vikings, that side of it, plus 2.5. Jordan Love was just coming back from his groin, or from his leg injury, I should say, that he suffered in week 1. Um, but Vikings got up huge in that game. Green Bay made a furious comeback in the second half. I expect it to be very close this time around. Raiders ruined their number one pick. I don't know a lot of people that watched this game. They defeated the Jaguars 19-14. Miami defeated San Francisco 29-17. Even if Miami wins out, which I don't even know if they could beat Cleveland and the Jets because they're going to both places in the cold. They'll probably beat Cleveland because I don't think Dorian Thompson Robinson can move the football. We'll see how much pride the Jets have. Miami obviously needs some help to get into the postseason. I just don't see it. Um, and then, obviously, New England played very well against Buffalo. It's a divisional game. There's reports out there that if New England got steamrolled these last 3 games by Buffalo twice and the Chargers, that Gerard Mayo could lose his job. Those guys were playing very hard for him. They even did a couple of fake punts. Drake May, again, playing well with what he has in my opinion, New England just needs an offensive draft to put a ton of pieces around him. And that Week 18 game, where it's Buffalo and New England, could essentially mean nothing besides New England ruining their draft position because I think Kansas City will beat Pittsburgh. They will be the number one seed. Buffalo then will be locked into to the number 2 seed and will have nothing to play for even going in here to Week 17. And then Dallas, obviously, they have nothing to play for, but Mike McCarthy had these guys playing, flying around the ball from the start. Baker Mayfield did not have the greatest game for Tampa Bay. And for a Tampa team that was surging and had taken full control of the NFC South, now the NFC South pendulum has all of a sudden swung back to Atlanta. And then on Monday night, New Orleans just wasn't even competitive against Green Bay. That was a joke. Packers shut out the Saints, wrap up their playoff spot as they look ahead again to the huge NFC North showdown that was flexed into 425 in the national window here. There are 2 games in the national window at 425 on Sunday. Dolphins, Browns, Packers, Vikings. The rest are, either at 1 o'clock or other days of the week. So my 5 losses in the money line for week 17, they were Pittsburgh, obviously, on Saturday, Philadelphia, Arizona, Jacksonville, San Francisco, and then Tampa Bay. Now, as we head into week 17, again, I'm going to fly through these. These are going to be my money line picks and best bets. I'm also going to give you a Christmas Day parlay best bets that you can put in. So here we go. Chiefs Steelers on Christmas. I like Kansas City. Baltimore at Houston. I like Baltimore. Seattle at Chicago on Thursday. I like Seattle. Saturday games, Chargers at New England. I like the Chargers to wrap up a playoff spot. Broncos at Bengals, the 425 game. This is the best game I think will potentially be before Sunday of the week. I like Cincinnati to keep their playoff hopes alive. Arizona at the Rams. I like the Rams in the Saturday night cap to all but clinch that NFC West. The 1 o'clock games on Sunday. I like Philly over Dallas to officially clinch the NFC East. I like Indy to keep their slim playoff hopes alive against the Giants. I do like Buffalo to just beat the Jets. Again, I don't know how much Josh Allen will play or if it will matter, especially if Kansas City does knock off Pittsburgh like I predict on Christmas. Raiders at Saints. Who cares? I'll take the home team, I guess. Give me the Saints. Same thing with Titans, Jags. I'll take the Jags at home to sweep Tennessee. I don't think Jacksonville is as bad of a roster as Tennessee. The last time those two teams faced off, it was 10-6. I like Tampa, I should say, to bounce back against Carolina. I don't think they're going to take them lightly like they did a few weeks ago. As I mentioned, I like the Browns here in an upset. I need to see Tua win in a cold weather game before I pick him here. For whatever reason, the Browns have been that team at home this year. Now there's a lot of drama surrounding Myles Garrett with future with the team, obviously. But the Browns at home here, I think, end Miami's playoff run. Though I'm not going to bet it. I just don't trust it. I like Green Bay to split the season series with Minnesota. I like them going on the road to Minneapolis. I'll take the Commanders Sunday night in the rookie showdown between Michael Penix and Jaden Daniels. And Monday night, just to keep my Philadelphia Eagles hopes alive for the number one seed in the NFC, I'll take San Francisco at home over Detroit, sort of their last stand of the season, playing for pride. They don't like the Lions. I think Brock Purdy will probably have a good game against a Lions defense that has been depleted. I don't know. It's a very tricky game. I'll just take San Francisco at home. So let's get into my Christmas Day parlay for Chiefs at Steelers, Ravens at Texans. In the Chiefs Steelers game, I like Kansas City minus 2.5 in this game. I also like Travis Kelce to catch 25 receiving yards, and I like Russell Wilson to throw for 150 yards. In the Ravens-Texans game, I like the Ravens minus 4.5, and I like Derrick Henry to score a touchdown. Now, for my 5 best bets for Week 17 of the 2024 NFL season, I'm going to take the Ravens, as I just alluded to in my Christmas Day parlay. I like a minus 4.5 at Houston on Christmas. Thursday night, again, I think the Bears have given up. I like Seattle, minus 3.5, even going west to East Coast. Saturday game, I like Cincinnati, minus 3 to beat Denver and keep their playoff hopes alive. That leads 2 Sunday games. I like Indianapolis minus 7.5 on the road. I think they cover against a Giants team that quit. And I like Green Bay plus 1.5 to all but end the Vikings' hopes for the number one seed. They go into Minnesota. They get the job done. Like that clip from the Brand's World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brand's World podcast right here on YouTube.